Welcome to How to Become a Production SQL Database Administrator. My name is Raphael. In the previous video, I demonstrated to you how you use the GUI to create a role, and then how you would apply permissions to that role, and then add various logins. In this thing, I'm going to do exactly the same as I did previously, but this time I'm going to use TSQL. As a DBA, it's important to understand what are the commands that are dictating the GUI, and it's a lot easier for you to do it through a GUI, through a TSQL rather than GUI. So here are some of the commands that you're going to need. Now, obviously, I've scripted out these commands, but it's good to get these, be familiar with these. So let me start by saying, always plan your role first. Even though it only takes a little time to do this, this first planning will save you a lot of time. And what I mean by planning the role first is as follows. Set up a name with the naming convention. If you're using a user-defined role, then try to have a prefix that says URD followed by the database name or whatever your company seems fit. Review the securables you want to add to that role. I mean, what are you trying to add to that role? Is it permissions to tables? Do you want logins to look at tables, to views, store procedures, or what? Determine what kind of permissions you want to apply to those securables once you've determined the securables. And then find out which groups, users, and logins you want to add to that role. If you have these kind of 3 or 4 things set up before you actually implement the role, it'll be a lot easier. So let's start. So the first thing you obviously want to do now is you want to create a role in the database. And the TSQL that allows you to do that is use database, obviously the database that you want to create a role in. And then obviously the command is create role followed by the role name, go. So if I go back here now, if I go here and expand this, go to securities, to roles, database roles, and refresh, you'll see that I do not have that HR that I created earlier using the GUI. So now I'm going to create it, highlight, execute, and if I refresh this, there it is. So the next thing obviously you want to do after creating a role is select the securables, or the tables in this case, and add them to the role, and then grant them select permissions. And the way you want to do that obviously is you want to select the database again. This time we want to select grant, select on, which is the securable. Our securable is the employee table and the department table. So I'm going to highlight both of them. So remember, it's grant, select on the securable, and to that group, obviously, to that role, I should say. So now if I execute this, and now I've given those 2 tables the select statement. And if I click on this now again, and go to securables, you'll see those 2 tables have been added. At this point, I have not added any logins, so let's do that now. So the third obviously thing I'm going to do is add logins to the database role. And again, the command is using the database, alter, role, the role we just created, and you say add member, and obviously in this case, login is Peter and login is Robert. So if I highlight this now and go execute, those 2 members have been added. And now if I go back to HR database role, you'll see that they're being added here, and cancel. So now let's just verify that Peter and Robert can access the tables. And there you go. And there we go again. So that's how easy it is. You would able to create roles and add logins. Now, for example, the whole idea is that it allows you to, the DBS to save efficiency, be efficient and save time. So if I wanted to create another role, I would just copy this, change the role name and execute it, and that would have the role created. If I want to now grant, if I want to grant the update statement to this securable and this securable, then all I have to do is update this select statement to update, select this to update, and they'll have not only the select statement, but also the update statement. And then obviously if I wanted to add more users or logins, all I have to do is just copy this and then just change the name Peter or Robert to Julie or Tom. So that's how you can see how quickly it can become for the DBA if he has to do many of these. And rather than being going right click and choosing the GUI. So it's very important that you understand, be able to script these out, copy these, and keep a log of this. So I think I'm going to leave it there because it's relatively straightforward, but I encourage you to get familiar with the TSQL, so it'll be a lot easier for you to manage roles. And I think that's it. So this is Raphael, and this is how to become a production SQL database administrator. In the next video, we're going to be looking at fixed SQL server roles, and I'm going to be giving a demonstration of how to create a role. Very similar to this, except now we're going to be looking at server roles. So again, this is Raphael with how to become a production SQL database administrator. See you in the next video.